The Knight and the Paper Dragon. Once upon a time, in a land where dragons roared, knights were brave, and paper cuts were considered the fiercest of injuries, there lived a young knight named Sir Flapjack. Sir Flapjack wasn't your typical knight. He was small, clumsy, and had a talent for tripping over his own sword. But what Sir Flapjack lacked in grace, he made up for in heart. One sunny afternoon, as he was wandering through the enchanted library, he stumbled upon a peculiar scroll. As he picked it up, the scroll wriggled, folded, and, poof, turned into a dragon. But not just any dragon. This one was made entirely out of paper. "Roar," said the dragon, who, truth be told, sounded more like a rustling newspaper than a ferocious beast. Sir Flapjack blinked. "Are you a dragon?" The paper dragon puffed out its chest. "Indeed, I am. I am Scales, the mightiest paper dragon in all the land. I can fold into 1,000 different shapes, and when I sneeze, I create origami animals." Sir Flapjack stared at him for a moment, then burst out laughing. "You don't breathe fire, do you?" Scales huffed. "Of course not. Fire and I don't get along very well. We're incompatible." "Ah, I see," said Sir Flapjack, wiping away a tear of laughter. "Well, I've never met a dragon like you before. Can you do dragon-like things, like fly?" Scales flapped his papery wings and took to the air. "Well, kind of." He floated gently like a leaf in the wind, drifting up and down until he landed softly in a bush. "See? Totally flying," said Scales proudly. Sir Flapjack smiled. "You're amazing. How would you like to be my noble steed? Together, we could be unstoppable." Scales raised a paper eyebrow. "You want me to be your steed? I'm a dragon, not a horse. I'll have you know, I can fold into a catapult." Before Sir Flapjack could protest, Scales folded himself into an elaborate origami catapult. He looked more like a paper crane that had tried yoga for the first time and gotten stuck. Impressive?" said Sir Flapjack, trying not to laugh. "Just wait," said Scales, still in his awkward shape. "Hop on." So, Sir Flapjack climbed aboard his new dragon catapult steed, and off they went, sort of bouncing and floating across the kingdom, causing quite the spectacle. The villagers pointed and giggled as the knight and his paper dragon wobbled by, but Sir Flapjack didn't care. He had a dragon, and that made him the coolest knight in the land, or at least the most amusing. One day, as they were adventuring, they encountered a real, fire-breathing dragon named Smogzor. Smogzor was big, scaly, and as fierce as a barbecue gone wrong. "Who dares enter my domain?" roared Smogzor, his breath smelling like burnt marshmallows. Sir Flapjack gulped. Me. Sir Flapjack, and this is my mighty dragon companion, Scales." Smogzor looked down at Scales and snorted. That's your dragon? He's made of paper." One puff of fire and poof. No more dragon. Scales unfolded himself back into dragon form and fluttered up to Smogzor. "Well, at least I'm environmentally friendly." Smogzor blinked. "Huh? And," continued Scales, "I can do this." He quickly folded into an origami crane, then a swan, then a frog. "Beat that." Smogzor scratched his head. I can't. I don't know how to fold." Sir Flapjack grinned. "Looks like Scales wins. He may not breathe fire, but he's got mad folding skills." Smogzor hung his head. I guess you're right. I've never been good with paper. It always just catches fire. Well, said Scales, landing on Smogzor's nose, I could teach you. We could make a whole army of origami dragons. You'd be unstoppable. And so, the mighty Smogzor and the foldable Scales became the best of friends. They spent their days folding, crafting, and teaching other dragons the fine art of origami. As for Sir Flapjack, he became famous as the only knight who ever rode a paper dragon into battle. Even if the battles were mostly against boredom and rainy afternoons. And they all lived crinkly ever after. The end.